Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and, of course, the king of all, those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Also, those half-pound Wagyu burgers are the best I've ever had as well. Probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call. Find out what's for dinner at 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Everybody tuning in on our Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, and WOW Cable affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us. Also on Hotel TV in all Nielsen-rated markets and upscale hotels and resorts. Plus, everybody watching on Facebook on Chicago Food Favorites. Thanks for joining us as well. Of course, everybody gets an astounding round of applause. I think that covers everybody except maybe those on the Mouse Rover. All right. You know, college football is upon us, and there's been so many changes in college football in the last year or two with conferences realigning. Look, the Pac-12 is basically gone now. The Big Ten has been expanded by teams from the Pac-12, and by the way, the Pac-12 teams, the balance of them, have migrated down to the Big 12. And so you ask yourself, what's left? Well, Oregon State and Washington State are the only two remaining members of the Pac-12. And, you know, they used to tout that as the winningest conference in NCAA history. Well, that's going to change real soon. Now, you ask, where are Oregon State and Washington State going to land? I mean, we've already had our ideas of where they could land, where they may land. Some people think the Big 12, some people think the Big 10. And I had said a while back, I believe that they are going to go to the Mountain West Conference because from a proximity standpoint, those are the best opportunities for Oregon State and Washington State. So you never know. Now, according to CBS Sports, the Mountain West has leverage on its side entering this season under a scheduling agreement with the Pac-12 holdovers. So, right here in Las Vegas, the Pac-12 held a media day last week disguised as a cocktail party. Gee, how convenient. And the event labeled, quote, After Hours with the Beavs and Cougs, close quote, was equal parts Malden inspiring, pep rally, and Irish wake. In fact, there was an open bar with finger foods as well. Yet I wasn't involved and I wasn't invited. Gotta love free food. Anyway, there was an inspirational 3-part film titled Welcome to the Fight, centered on conference holdovers Oregon State and Washington State. There was a past and future theme with future greats from both programs participating. Folks cried, or came damn close to it. Pac-12 Commissioner Teresa Gould said, quote, We are drinking tonight during this event, and I would venture to say that if anyone has earned the right to drink, it's the Pac-12. Okay? I don't know, close quote. Anyway, former Washington State quarterback Jack Thompson said of the league's dissolution, I was pissed, frankly. They're going to come back scrambling. Well, former Wazoo great Ryan Leaf, an NFL bust, that is, Ryan Leaf, said of the departed Pac-12 schools, they're going to come back scrambling back. They're going to come scrambling back, close quote. So, there's an unwritten rule to lure media. If you offer free food and drink, you'll get coverage. Yet they didn't offer me food and drink. And of course, I didn't give them coverage. But nonetheless, that's less of an issue. Then were the two programs ultimately, where will they land after being the only Pac-12 schools left out during last round of realignment? That after a combined 214 years as Pac-12 members. So, the future is uncertain, but the prevailing thought has been the Beavs and Cougs will end up as Mountain West members by 2026 when the new college football playoff contract begins. Interesting. On the surface, it makes sense for the best group of five conference to take in the last two Power 5 schools remaining from the realignment chaos. But after a week of speaking to industry sources during the various media days, there seems to be some momentum towards the Mountain West cooling on inclusion of Oregon State and Washington State. Such a move has been portrayed as expansion, a merger, or a reverse merger, although it's hard to envision who reverse merges with whom. Now, the Mountain West has a scheduling agreement with both teams for the 24 season with a mutual option to continue the partnership in the next year. Might as well make that a Mountain West option because it's becoming clear the conference doesn't necessarily need or even want the Beavers or Cougars on a full-time membership basis. Now, Gould said, the Pac-12 athletic director or Pac-12 commissioner, quote, I don't know if the Mountain West thinks they need these two schools. Honestly, I would imagine if and when these conversations ever take place, it's going to be based in part on the economics of the decision and what they bring to the table, close quote. And then she went on to add, quote, the intent is to have a decision by 2025 before we start this football season. There's so much writing on that in terms of future media rights, recruiting decisions, all those things, close quote. That's pretty interesting. So, that's not to say the Mountain West expansion merger can't happen. It's just that the league has developed a bit of leverage since the latest realignment train came to halt last summer. Now, if that's the case, where exactly do the Beavs and Cougs end up? If anywhere. They're essentially competing as independents in 2024. Here are some informed answers after a week of crowdsourcing. The college football playoff has given the Mountain West more certainty and stability as arguably the strongest group of five league, top to bottom. It is now virtually assured of a college playoff berth each year in the newly expanded 12-team CFP. Now, essentially, the conference can count on playing for something big each season. Coaches can sell that to both high school recruits and players in the transfer portal. League favorite Boise State is somewhat used to the chase, having finished in the top 11 of the AP Top 25 every year, but won from 2006 to 2011 during its Chris Peterson glory years. So the current membership is lean and mean, with San Diego State, Fresno, Boise State, Air Force each winning at least 10 games since 2021. UNLV won 9 somehow last year for the first time since 1984. And the Mountain West leads all Group of 5 conferences, playing 35 games against Power 4 opponents in 2024. Since 2019, the Mountain West has won 19 games against Power 5 opponents, only 2 fewer than the dearly departed Pac-12 in that time span. So, Mountain West Commissioner Gloria Nevarez said, quote, it's really important for us that the selection committee recognizes that our coaches are swinging for the fences. Certainly, our coaches have to get it done on the field, but come on, you've got to have credit for that, close quote. So, do Oregon State and Washington State change the math that much is the big question. So, The addition of Oregon State and Washington State would mean only a 10% to 15% increase in the current Mountain West deal, according to one veteran industry source with experience in television negotiations. Now, counter Jim Williams, Emmy award-winning sports media consultant, quote, "I don't think it will be that much. I would think more like 10%. 15% is way too much," close quote. The Mountain West currently has a deal with CBS Sports and Fox Sports through 2025. Those football seasons that pays at approximately $45 million per year. TNT announced a multi-year deal with the league beginning this season. Those games were termed as leftovers after CBS and Fox received the prime selections. Terms were not released. Now, TNT could get aggressive in future negotiations. However, considering it has seemingly lost its NBA rights and would need some live event inventory. So because CBS and Fox deal is quickly becoming and coming up for renewal, something must happen quickly, and the parties are essentially a year out on the end of the current agreement. The main question, does a 14-team league that includes the Pac-12 leftovers significantly increase the new media rights deal? For now, the two schools have what can be termed as a skinny deal with the CW to show 11 games this season. One estimates that will be worth about $1 million a game. And the Mountain West obviously would like to protect itself and protect its turf. And there are other options as well. So the Pac-2 could leverage a best of the rest takeover featuring the best brand in the Mountain West. Something similarly failed last summer when CBS reported an attempt by San Diego State to assemble the best of the Mountain West. Well, that didn't really work out so well. But in the meantime, there's lots more to cover in this. In fact, we're going to pick up on this in just a few minutes on the Circus. Lots more to come here with the Mountain West Conference in college football. Back here in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which are a podcast. And, of course, make sure you go to the partners page. Lots of great partners over there. One of those is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Of course, a nice round of applause for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. As soon as we get it, it's the Kung Fu applause. Hey, listen, folks. This is live. You never know what's going to happen here on the circus. There it goes. All right. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on TV and radio from all of our radio affiliates from Honolulu all the way to Atlanta, including our friends in Auburn, Alabama. That's WAUD, 1230 AM, home of the Atlanta Braves, as well as WDJY in Atlanta, 99.1 FM, plus everybody else watching on television, on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Oceanic, and WOW Cable affiliates, as well as Hotel TV from coast to coast, and, of course, a big hello to our friends on Facebook on Chicago Food Favorites. Make sure you like, follow, participate, post your favorite recipes. I don't know, have some fun with it, folks. There's no cost. It's all free, and I'm actually the founder of that page. I created it for all those people that want to talk about food without having to deal with advertising and all this other nonsense. All right, nice round of applause for them. I'm picking up with this story on Oregon State and Washington State and the Mountain West Conference. We have two teams remaining in the Pac-2 now. And so left off here with a CBS Sports article. It's a pretty good one here. And they say the Pac-2 could leverage a best-of-the-rest takeover featuring the best brands in the Mountain West Conference. Something similar failed last summer when CBS Sports reported an attempt by San Diego State to assemble the best of the Mountain West, American as well as Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, Washington State, to form a new conference that would hopefully have Power 5 designation, which, well, we saw Cal and Stanford migrate over to the ACC, which is a little bit of a stunner, and along with, who else went over there? SMU went over there as well, and there's one other school that went too. Meanwhile, UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington all went to the Big Ten. What a disaster for the Pac-12. Anyway, so back with this story, the best of the rest, so to say, would cripple the remaining Mountain West and American schools. Meanwhile, Cal and Stanford now seem committed, of course, which they are, to ACC, as we mentioned, as long as it remains in its current form, which it will, apparently. And Oregon State and Washington State could simply be taken in as the 13th and 14th conference schools in the Mountain West Conference, but that doesn't necessarily make the conference stronger. Of course, we're already seeing how the Pac-12's death has impacted both. Ex-Oregon State coach Jonathan Smith, a former Beavers star quarterback, took the job at Michigan State. Washington State Athletic Director Patrick Chun left for the same role at rival Washington. Now, this year's Apple Cup rivalry game has been impacted in the future games as well. But remember, this game has been impacted in that neutral officials from the Big 12 will work with the game in Seattle. Washington State suddenly became a visiting team from a rival conference after realignment. What a mess this is. Washington officials didn't want the few remaining Pac-12 referees working the game. Well, it's for obvious reasons. Possibly a bias. Who knows? Oregon State and Washington State have a $265 million war chest of available funds it could use for at least its short-term needs. But since they are not in a conference which would assure a constant flow of media rights, those millions are a finite number, and the well will eventually run dry. But $265 million between the schools, and that's a big, big amount of money. What can they do with all that money? You never know. The pot consists mainly of leftover Pac-12 basketball units, CFP money, and bowl earnings. There's also substantial debt. A lot of the money could go to cover the Mountain West exit fees if there is a raid as described above. So the Mountain West schools would owe $18 million each if they give notice more than 1 year out. The figure doubles to $36 million if inside a year. So if it happens inside a year, guess what? $36 million bucks out the window for each. The two schools must decide how to fund revenue sharing that comes from the House versus NCAA settlement, possibly up to $21 million per year for the next 10 years, or another $221 million. So Gould had said, the commissioner of the now Pac-12, what's left, or the Pac-2, quote, much of that money is money that is associated with the business agreements and other revenues that the Pac-12 would have had whether we had 12 schools or 2. So it's normal revenue streams. Much of that money is being used for the same purpose. It would not matter how many members we had. Then there is a portion of it put aside that we are very much viewing as restricted funds for us to think about long-term strategy, close quote. Or they could simply take the $265 million divided by 2. Each school gets $132.5 million bucks, call it a day. And then they're off on their own. So, minus the debt. There is no Pac-12 in its traditional form, but the conference still lives under a trademark. Does Pac-12 sound better than Mountain West, or Pac-12 Mountain, or Pac Mountain 14, or whatever? Absolutely. But industry sources told CBS Sports the two schools can't count on its revenue stream. That's right, the two schools cannot count on its revenue stream. Now, how does that feel? How does that look in the grand scheme of things? So Williams had said, quote, why would you want to expand just to expand? It's like you or me going out and somebody's selling us $5 the Big 8 conference. Why would that happen? We have all the details, but it's not the Big 8 conference, close quote. It was a heck of a party, a media day, but if nothing else, all this happened during a media day for the Pac-2, so to say, or the Mountain West Conference. Either way, it doesn't matter. It was a showcase for Oregon State and Washington State. So it was clearly the Pac-12. Washington State, Oregon State aren't going to give up easily. And of course, Gould said, quote, we're all fighters and we're not going to back down, close quote. Thompson said, we're ass-kicking people. College football, college sports needs us. The enduring tradition of the two schools is that they do more with less resources. And of course, Ryan Leaf, NFL bust and Washington State former quarterback, says, quote, I'm the only Montanan who has ever been drafted in the first round. There's more first-round draft picks in the Manning family than the whole state of Montana, close quote. Is Ryan Leaf still relevant? Why is he talking? Is he a member of the Pac-2 or Pac-12 community at this point? Not to my knowledge. And I think Ryan Leaf is just talking to be Ryan Leaf. You know, I'd like to get Ryan on the show and maybe talk a little bit about what he thinks went wrong with his NFL career. And that, in fact, might be a little bit bigger of a story than what's going on here, if you know what I mean. And that's just how it seems. I'm not really sure, but either way, it seems to me that Ryan Leaf should not be doing a whole hell of a lot of talking at this time because his relevance, well, I would say, is laughable. And just leave it like that. So, Anyway, when we think of the expansion or the possible expansion of the Mountain West Conference, we say, all right, could they take in, yes, those two, of course. But who else could they take in to make it a 16-team league? Now, that might be a little bit more valuable, as I see it, than some of the other options out there. And when you look at the options, you say, well, who's available? Well, look, there are plenty of schools that are available. But you ask yourself, exactly. You ask yourself, what is fair and reasonable? You always have to go back to what is fair and reasonable. And I'm not so sure that any of this dialogue is really fair and reasonable. Because you say, well, wait a minute. If they do expand the conference, do they become the de facto remaining Power 5 school? Because they would take in the two of Washington State and Oregon State. Or does the Pac-12 acquire the Mountain West and become the Pac-14? Now, of course, there was mention in the CBS article about the Pac Mountain or something like that, or some nonsensical acronym. It doesn't really matter. But ultimately, it just seems to me that the Pac-12 brand will not be the same without the schools that have departed, especially USC and UCLA, because people know the Pac-12 conference because largely of all of their championships over time. And what makes the most sense is for the Mountain West to expand and acquire two academically mediocre schools in Oregon State and Washington State as they fit the academic profile of the Mountain West, with the exception of course, of the Air Force Academy, which is a damn good institution when it comes to academics and, of course, the product they put back out into the real world. So ultimately, the Mountain West seems to be the best destination for Oregon State and Washington State. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus, more college football to come. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure that you check out the featured guest schedule at thesportscircus.com. We've got a really good guest coming up, real soon. And we're talking I think it's on the 23rd, as a matter of fact. And that would be the great Buck Dharma, frontman, founder, and lead guitarist for the legendary rock band Blue Oyster Cult. Yes! In fact, Buck might even premiere some new music on the show. Now, they're constantly touring. Folks, if you've never seen them, even if it's not your genre of music, gotta tell you, not only do they put on a great show, but they sound right out of the box. When I say that, that means this is not the band or the group that fixes a whole bunch of stuff in the mix. How they sound on stage is how they sound on their records or on their CDs or on their MP3s, whatever it is that you buy these days. Got to tell you, they've been doing it since 1971, and they're still doing it. They still sound great. It's unbelievable. I've seen him a number of times, but Buck's one of those guys that he just has a timeless voice, a timeless guitar style, and he's just so damn smooth. Just incredible. Anyway, make sure you check out Buck Dharma on the Sports Circus, premiering some music and also talking about stadium tours and small venues and music during games, if you're going to the games, what it entails. I mean, it's a very interesting dialogue that's coming up. And folks, if you've never listened to a music guest on a sports show, you're like, why the hell would I do that? Listen. You'll like it. We've had tremendous Grammy Award winners, etc., on this show, and the shows have all been huge hits. There's going to be a lot of media around this in the next handful of days. You'll see. Anyway, make sure you tune into the Sports Circus for sure, and if you miss it, make sure you go to the recorded show and listen to it in its entirety. It'll be a lot of fun here with the great Buck Dharma. Yes! 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 Of course, he gets multiple. Yes! That's my patented yes, by the way. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our network affiliates, our CBS, NBC, and Fox, and our independents from coast to coast. About 215 stations have access to this content right here. And by the way, also on television, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, and WOW Cable affiliates in select markets, plus Hotel TV. Thanks for joining us in all Nielsen-rated markets and upscale hotels and resorts, and everybody also on Facebook on Chicago Food Favorites. Make sure you like and follow and participate. A fun page where we have guests or members, nonetheless, from all parts of the globe. All parts. Believe it. In 6 continents, of course, we don't have any that I know of in Antarctica, but you never know, folks. There might be somebody that is following us in Antarctica that's at one of those science stations, or who knows, maybe some of those other places that we're not allowed to really talk about, if you know what I mean. Anyway, sticking with college football, the 2024 Heisman Trophy race will be an interesting one. It's going to be a little bit more even as I see it. It's going to be, well, look, there's betting odds, but I believe there's going to be a little bit more competition in this one, unlike the last one, which was clearly given, in my opinion, to the wrong person. Jaden Daniels was not the best quarterback in college football last year. Sorry. In fact, if they were going to go with a non-quarterback, should have went to Marvin Harrison Jr. or Marvin Harrison II. I forget which one it is. But in any event, the best quarterback in college football last year ended up going to the Denver Broncos. And that was a quarterback out of Oregon, you may seem to recall. That was the same quarterback that came from Auburn University, who didn't have a lot of success under very mediocre coaching. Mr. Herson did a very mediocre at best job for the Auburn Tigers, War Eagle. Unfortunately, their quarterback ended up going to Oregon and having the best numbers in all of college football. That was Bo Nix. Bo Nix, clearly, he was leaps and bounds head and shoulders above everybody else in college football, and somehow he did not win the Heisman Trophy. Now, is this year going to be fixed? Well, guess what? We have betting odds on it as well. So you ask yourself, now this is, according to CBS Sports, 2024 Heisman Trophy odds, Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel, another Oregon quarterback. Is he going to get snubbed this time? Maybe not, because they're in the Big Ten now. Dylan Gabriel draws even with Georgia quarterback Carson Beck as the betting favorites. Show me the money! Yeah, it's always about show me the money, isn't it? Anyway, according to CBS Sports, Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel's Heisman Trophy stock is on the rise in the betting market as the 2024 college football season nears. Gabriel, a 6-year player on his third collegiate stop, is now an even favorite with Georgia quarterback Carson Beck, per the latest odds at multiple sports books. Now, me personally, I have Dylan Gabriel's college football card. I've been a card collector since I was a little kid, so I have his university card, and honestly, I hope one of the guys that I have their college football cards, hopefully one of those guys end up winning because those are their first cards. Anyway, Gabriel opened up at a 1,000, plus 1,000 in February, but has crept up the odds sheets. Oh, yeah, crept right up their way up, and now surpassing Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers along the way. Gabriel threw for 3,660 last year, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, while compiling a 69.3% of his passes in 12 games at Oklahoma last year. Now with the Ducks, he enters a system ready-made for Heisman campaign. Yeah, but guess what? Bo Nix didn't win last year, which he should have won. No, they gave it to SEC's, LSU's Jaden Daniels, who, in my opinion, again, was certainly not deserving. Nonetheless, the Ducks returned star receiver Tez Johnson and added another potential star via the transfer portal in Evan Stewart from Texas A&M. Tight end Terrence Ferguson and receivers Trayshawn Holden and Gary Bryant are also back after productive 2023 seasons. Furthermore, the Ducks have an offensive line that is regarded as one of the nation's best, and they have continuity at coordinator in Will Stein as he returns for a second season. Bo Nix finished third in the Heisman voting, again, as I mentioned, which is complete lunacy from last season, for Oregon while throwing for 45.08 with 45 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. And Bo Nix completed 77.4% of his passes and was selected by the Denver Broncos, as I mentioned, the number 12 pick. Bo Nix clearly was the winner of the Heisman, but he got absolutely snubbed, maybe because of some of his background being, maybe it wasn't the right, I don't know, he didn't have the right name. He didn't have the right jersey, didn't have the right school, he wasn't the right color. I don't know what it was. Who knows what it was? Maybe it was all of that stuff put into a blender to make an awful tasting smoothie for the Oregon faithful, and Bo Nix absolutely deserved it. Just a big round of boos for the Heisman voting people. They really got that one wrong. Anyway, well, there are plenty of factors to bolster Gabriel's Heisman campaign. He'll face stiff competition from other quarterbacks in college football. And here's a list of one of these fantasy sports organizations, Heisman Trophy futures, and I don't want to mention the organization because they're not paying me anything, if you know what I mean. So Dylan Gabriel comes in at a plus 750, so basically you put up $100. If he wins, you win $750 plus your original $100. Also tied with him is Carson Beck from Georgia, plus 750. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers, plus 1,000. Put up 100, win 1,000 if he wins, plus your original $100 back. Now, Ohio State, their quarterback Will Howard is a plus 1,400. And listen, Ohio State has produced one reasonable quarterback in the last few decades, and that was C.J. Stroud. He had a good rookie year, but who knows what's going to happen in the sophomore year? Will he have the sophomore slump? Was he one of those quarterbacks that had a very good year and had come back will have a not-so-good year? You never know. Maybe he might have turned around the fortunes for the quarterback history at Ohio State. But my best guess is no, he didn't. They just don't produce good quarterbacks as a whole. Anyway, he's a plus 1,400. Will Howard is. Tennessee's quarterback Nico Lamaleva is a plus 1,600. And, of course, Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe is a plus 1,600 as well. So where does this one go? I don't really know. But when we think about money, the way money is thrown around by these betting organizations, you say, how much of that trickles down to the players, if any? Is there any influence with the boosters, extra influence? Remember, all that NIL money, the name, image, and likeness money, that was all illegal, going all the way back to, the death sentence with Eric Dickerson when SMU lost. They got the death penalty, and there was an alleged payoff, but there really wasn't a payoff. We had Eric Dickerson on the show talking about that. But SMU got the complete athletic death sentence. Then they were reinstated, and now SMU is a formidable opponent once again. That would be Southern Methodist University out of Dallas. But it just seems like the betting and the money is skewing everything. And frankly, these kids, now that they are paid, they are no longer amateurs because now they are hired guns and they're considered as professionals because they've lost their amateur standing, yet the colleges allow it to happen. The whole thing is a disaster. Anyway, folks, back here with more college football on the Sports Circus in just a few minutes.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. floor without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935 at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for, again, our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, that is. We have recorded guests, too. And also check out our partners page. One of those partners been with us for quite some time is Al's No. 1 Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. And in fact, if you can't get over there, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. Or you can go to goldbelly.com and just type in Al's Beef. And you can pick up some of that great Italian beef. They've been around since 1938. They are the originals of the Italian beef sandwich, which kicks the crap out of the Philly cheesesteak sandwich, in case you're keeping score. Yes! It's our favorite. And after you try it, if you haven't tried it, likely it'll be your favorite too. All right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio, everybody on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Thanks for joining us. And we will continue with college football. I like saying that. College football. Best time of the year coming up. And in fact, college football coaches entering year 2. We need to find out who are facing defining campaigns in this coming season. Now, of course, Chip Patterson, we're going to give you a little bit of recognition here from CBS Sports for putting this one together. And in fact, he says college football seems to be getting less patient every year. And what used to be a long runway for coaches at the top programs in the country has been shortened to a launch pad. And if you don't have the program meeting expectations within a couple of years, the pressure will mount very quickly. Now consider that the CBS Sports Hot Seat rankings released recently include Florida's Billy Napier with a second highest rating possible, 4 of 5, as he prepares for just his third year at the helm in Gainesville. Napier was included in this exercise last year, as well as spotlighted some year 2 coaches facing pivotal campaigns under the category of needs to show improvement following a 6-7 debut season in 2022. And of course, the Gators did not show improvement, falling back to 5-7 in 2023 and missing out on the postseason for the first time since 2017, which the postseason means essentially just about everybody. If you even play 5-7 in many cases, you have a chance to make a bowl game. So apparently Florida didn't do that well. But there's also potential for year 2 to be the season in which a coach finally puts it all together to make a big leap. Urban Meyer did this in his second year at Florida. Nick Saban did it also during year 2 at both LSU and Alabama. Dan Lanning had a stellar year 2 at Oregon last season, with the Ducks knocking on the door of the CFP right up until the final moments of the Pac-12 title game. And Kalen DeBoer has such a successful year 2 at Washington that he got hired by Alabama after guiding the Huskies to a national runner-up finish. With the transfer portal and NIL forever changing the timetable, fans have 4 expectations of success. Year 2 has never been more important, according to CBS Sports. The honeymoon is over, and no matter what happened in year 1, there's an expectation for a step forward in year 2. And, in fact, CBS Sports has sorted some of the notable situations into 3 categories, considering both the stakes of the job and the urgency for results, setting up the table for job pressure conversations throughout this season coming up. So chances to build on year one success go number one, Louisville's Jeff Brom. And of course, the return of Louisville, their native son, went out and about as good as any coach could have expected. And frankly, I don't like the fact that he left Purdue on a big upswing. I think it was very, very poor taste that Jeff Brom left. But then again, he has a right to do what he wants to do, but he left him high and dry, and the program was on the upswing. And why would you leave a Big Ten school to go to Louisville? I don't really know. Nonetheless, it doesn't, well, I have my theories, but it seems to me that, in my opinion, the standards at Purdue are significantly higher, both academically and morally, than at Louisville, and maybe that's why he left. I don't know. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. Anyway, Brom guided the Cardinal to their first ever ACC championship game appearance and first 10-win season in a decade. And Brom used a heavy influx of transfers to flip the roster for instant results, and now he's entering year two with another portal-heavy roster. And of course, the schedule is more difficult than it was a year ago, so matching the win total might not be as easy, but maintaining a spot in the top tier of the ACC is reasonable and a standard for Brom's program. Now, Liberty University, here's an interesting one. Jamie Chadwell. No first-year coach won more games than Chadwell in 2023. While it seems improbable to turn in another 13-1 season, the combination of coaching and competition makes it possible, and we see another dozen wins for the Flames, possibly in 2024. That's what CBS Sports says. Now, Liberty was able to retain its star quarterback, Caden Salter, after a brief flirtation with the transfer portal, and the roster as a whole rates significantly better than most teams on a schedule. That strength of schedule rating, which checks in somewhere between 129 and 134 nationally, depending on your rating, leaves a slim margin for error when it comes to making the expanded college football playoff. But if Liberty can run the table in the regular season, it'll be the first Cinderella candidate of the 12-team playoff era. Now, Northwestern has an interesting situation with David Braun, and of course, they, being CBS Sports, certainly need to apply some context when declaring Northwestern's 8-5 showing in 2023 a roaring success. The fact that Pat Fitzgerald was fired on July 10, 2023, shortly before Media Day and preseason camp, and Braun was tasked with leading the team despite being with the program for barely 6 months. I don't even think barely is a word. Shame on them. But it's the way the season finished that really stood out, with 5 wins in the Wildcats' final 6 games and a stretch that included snapping a 14-game road losing streak and beating Utah in the program's first bowl appearance since 2020. But how many of those players from Utah sat out too? Got to ask yourself that one. Anyway, Braun's challenge now is to make sure that they can build on last year's success and prove it wasn't just an adrenaline rush in the wake of a sudden change that sparked short-term success. Now, Matt Rule from Nebraska is facing a very, very interesting situation. Of course, he's looking to make the jump. Now, off-season wins like retaining defensive coordinator Tony White and signing promising 5-star quarterback Dylan Raiola have put a shiner spin on the state of Nebraska football coming out of a 5-7 campaign last year. So let's consider this a hybrid of the next two categories. The Cornhuskers now and know that they are set up to make a jump and probably need to make it. Look, they've been sputtering for years. Anyway, to keep things going in the right direction, they're going to have to make a serious jump. The makeup of last season's results also point to being on the cusp of a breakthrough with 4 3-point losses in games with 21 points. Would have been enough to win, but they couldn't put the ball in the end zone. Even a small step forward offensively should spark a jump and result in some wins. And of course, there's our friends over in Auburn, Alabama. Of course, we always precede them with a round of applause, acknowledging our audience on WAUD, 1230 AM, home of the Atlanta Braves. Hugh Freeze of Auburn. Now, the return of Freeze to the SEC brought the same kind of competitiveness against the best teams that we remember from his time at Ole Miss. Auburn was within 7 points of Georgia, 7 points of Ole Miss, and 3 points of Alabama in 2023. And in all of those games, which were all at home, fans could see that it shouldn't take long to flip those close defeats into victories. Unfortunately, Auburn also lost to New Mexico State, which was an awful home loss, and registered just one win against a bowl team on the season. There was no panic about the future, but certainly some urgency to see if the Tigers can make a jump in 2024. War Eagle, let's go. Now, Luke Fickell over in Wisconsin has another interesting situation as well. When Wisconsin hired Fickell at the end of the 2022 season, he had just racked up 53 wins across 5 seasons with 2 conference titles and a historic college football playoff appearance at Cincinnati. Well, guess what? This is the Big Ten, and it's not another conference. It's not the American Athletic Conference where he came from. Now, was there an adjustment expected as he worked to install a new regime in Madison? We don't know. But I tend to think yes. But the 7-6 campaign last season was a bit jarring considering the level of success that they've been accustomed to seeing over there at Wisconsin. At Camp Randall Stadium, boy, that's a tough place to win as a road team. They should have won more games. Not just from Fickell, but also from Wisconsin program that had won more than 7 games in each season that did not involve a pandemic or plandemic or coaching change dating back to 2009. So we'll see what happens over there in Wisconsin. It's going to be interesting. Georgia Tech, another team that, well, more is expected from them. So the ACC's Georgia Tech says, look, Brent Kay, it's time to make something happen. Well, Kay certainly had a head start on his year 1 thanks to an 8-game run as the interim coach in 2022. They're counting on last season's debut, but last season really as his debut. So it was a season with mixed results, highlighted by 2 wins against ranked teams, but also includes a home loss to Bowling Green and a season-long set of defensive shortcomings that left the Yellow Jackets last season in last place in the ACC in total defense. And more consistency throughout the season and even within games is the next step to making a jump, and it's what is the key to hopes for something big in the 2024 season. Now, of course, we're going to finish up with a team that needs to show improvement. How about Deion Primetime Sanders? How about Deion? And we're going to give Deion a chorus of boos because he left an HBCU school, and it seems to me money was the reason. It makes me sick to my stomach. Anyway, Deion, Coach Prime, look, you need to show improvement. And there is a read of Sanders' debut that suggests that last year's team was much better than the 4-8. I don't think so. The Buffs had 5 one-score losses, and they earned those one-score losses. So it's fair to say, to some people, a few differences, a few different breaks, a few different bounces could have made the Buffs a winning team, whatever, in year 1. It doesn't matter. But the fact that 4 of those 5 one-score losses came during a 6-game losing streak, yes, a 6-game losing streak, that 4 of those 5 one-score losses came during that streak to where Colorado needs to improve. And look, those guys, they earned every one of those losses. This is a team that needs to finish stronger. And if the offseason roster build is something like they talk about, well, maybe it'll pay off down the road. But guess what? How about a little less TV time for Coach Prime and a little bit more focus on the actual team and the University of Colorado? Remember, this is a university. This is not a football team. It is a university, and academics, believe it or not, do come first. So get over it, Colorado faithful, and all you people that think that college football is the only thing that matters in college, because no, that's not true. Academics count first before everything else, because academics are the building blocks of economies. That's that, folks. We'll see you in about, 23 hours or so. Till then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.